ready for some news? Ladies and gentlemen, gird your loins because it's time. Time for the good news, the bad news, and the other shit. Gotta try to make light of things, you guys, even though it's very hard and very difficult. That's because I don't want you to lose your mind. And I have the distinct impression that a lot of us out there are just overstressed. And it's appropriate because if you're a caring person, if you're concerned, and even some of us who were not so caring or so concerned are now being forced to confront a bunch of realities. Because the day-by-day drama is so intense that I can't even get my news show out. You know, every week I try to plan this show, but every week my topics are sort of just pushed, you know, just dismissed by the current goings-on by the president. Now this one, it was entirely the president because you happen to have a group of white supremacists, well, various groups. It was a convention of white supremacists, neo-Nazis, different racist groups decided to have a convention in Charlottesville, West Virginia. And local folks there decided to confront them, leading to a lot of violent scenes. You don't need me to replay all that again. I know you've seen it over and over. A lot of violent scenes, people fighting. You know, amazing to me, again, the groups came prepared to fight. They had a body armor on, dressed up like superheroes and shit. Like, they had a heart on for this. I'm sorry, I don't know any other way to say it, but that's really what it was. They were all dressed up with the outfits. When you get all dressed up with all kind of fight gear and shields, and I'm just saying, you all dressed up.
Reenactment. Hey, ode to the spirit of the statues.
So it's all about history. The statue of Robert E. Lee.
That's what
coming down. Now, I'll tell you one thing. One thing this does prove. For those of you who kept hearing those reports that all these Confederate things were only about history, that shows you that was a damn lie. This shows you it's not about history. This is about an homage to white supremacy. That's what, I'm a black man. I know what message they were trying to give me. And what's so funny, Victor, this Robert E. Lee statue didn't go up at the end of the Civil War. At the end of the Civil War, right, that would have been considered treason.
Right.
Now, this statue went up like in 65.
Much later.
Sometime in the mid-60s, as part of the reaction of local bigots to the civil rights movement. And so
it has always been percolating. They just needed a flashpoint, right? The great homage to the great leader or whomever. Lord. They needed a flashpoint. It's always been there. Everybody's been there. It's always been there.
And different levels.
Yeah.
And so the president came out and gave us a little speech where he openly looked, you know, practice, Mr. President. He openly looked like he was reading poorly his lines. He looked like he was reading poorly his lines. Then he, I think, has an ad-lib moments when he says on both sides, in a way that, again, seems to really be dismissive of the whole issue that this started with white supremacists, KKK. You want me to be middle ground on this? Really? I ask people, if you're a white person looking at your black brothers, what would be a reasonable reaction on my part? At least be some anger.
Yeah, I agree. Go ahead, Mark.
So we're going to have some anger. But here's the point. And I want everybody to really take a look at this. Because this is what's so wonderful about today's world. I got to give you a point that's wonderful. I know. Because when you look at the people that were protesting, that wasn't like the civil rights movement, Vic. you have this is white folks.
Yeah. Yes.
The issue of race becomes mainstream and especially becomes affected with the large group of the people who were affecting this. In other words, when the large group of white Americans who previously had very bigoted views, like I said, when I was 13, America was Donald Trump. And that's changed. And so people are stepping forward in different numbers. There always were good folks who knew justice and stood for that. Always were. Oh, don't get it twisted. You had people doing that during slave times, okay, who stood up, said this was wrong, even then. And so you have them today. So the part to take away is to look at how diversified the struggle has become. And it's wonderful that it has become that. It's so sad that this young woman had to die.
Absolutely. But she stood for something.
She stood for something. She becomes a martyr in her face. And her mother said she was part of the reason that she was active in these kinds of things was also, it wasn't just her black friends, it was how she saw her gay and lesbian friends were being treated, that these things caused her to want to step up and be an activist. So we want to give an homage.
Absolutely.
To those individuals who see fit to step forward and take a stand. And I want to tell everybody to take stock and be witness to how this is now, these struggles are becoming struggles that are across racial planes, gender planes. It's conscious folks embracing issues as they become confronted with them. Right. Even though your thing might be Black Lives, when you are faced with the issues of lesbian, gay, transgender, you speak up. Your thing may be women's rights, but when you look at what's happening with black folks and the proof therein, you speak up. You could be a Republican. All Republicans aren't evil. For a lot of them, their party has been hijacked by the alt-right, whatever you want to call it, with white racism. Because right now, the Republican Party is the party of racism. If you don't like it, you'll take your party back.
You're giving them an out. They weren't hijacked. They were not hijacked.
Ooh, Victor. Like they said, y'all love Sessions.
They're not hijacked, man.
Y'all love Attorney General Sessions, a segregationist. As far as I'm concerned, he did everything he could in his power, all his career, but he's your good old boy. All right. So the point is that take stock of where we are today, everybody. The point is also that this is when progress is made. I'm just so old that I can remember now. You know, when things are wonderful, times are good, and the money is flowing, that's not really a time of change. It might be a time of a little more open attitudes, but it's not so much change. Because believe it or not, it seems like change is fueled by struggle. Now, times like this where you have all the riots and demonstrations and people standing up and deaths, those are the times that change is effective.
This is the time that you need to start singing "We Are the World."
We need to start singing "We Are the World."
You're going to have to do something, man.
So we need to start singing "We Are the World."
You need to find that theme song that moves and motivates people. Find that thing that doesn't make you want to go read a teleprompter. Teleprompters are for people who really don't have a conscience on what they're going to really say, and they need guidance. So just find that music piece, man, that stirs your soul, and you'll be okay.
I wrote one.
Right. See, I'm just trying. Look, I am not making fun of this. I am not. The whole point of this is that I've always believed, and it's not a shock and a surprise, what is being elevated at this time. If you want to call it what I call a social civil war percolating in America. There's a difference. I'm not talking about the Civil War. I said there's a social war. Everybody wants to be identified and hide behind the right of free speech. Right. Imagine you being a young man, Mario, and your mom, and you're telling him, you know what, Mom, I want to go down to that place where all the hustlers and pimps hang out. I have a right to have a voice and how they may or may not be doing right or wrong. And your mom says, "You're right, son. You have a right to go down there, but I'll whoop your ass when you get back." Okay. Okay. So, hey, you know how it is. They're smart and smarter. And a lot of these people think they're gods, but they spell God with 2 O's. So you know how it is, man.
Reach out to one another. Take a deep breath. Recognize that even though you feel angry and it seems overwhelmed with things that are ugly, that this is how progress occurs. Sit back, take a deep breath, and look at the people who are out there embracing this struggle. And feel beautiful that America is being redefined. It has been redefined.